Okay, so metal.
Metal.
This show's about metal.
What is metal? We're going to spread the hidden value in music.
We're going to proselytize. We're going to get the word out there.
We are.
That's important.
Welcome everybody to the Great Metal Podcast. Oh man, guys, I have a cramp in my side like you get when you go running because I'm so excited about this episode.
You got a metal cramp, Luke. You're gonna
do.
bleed metal out your ass later.
It might be like an ulcer from how excited I am. Oh, this is going to be good because today Shredmaster Scott, Just Pete, and the Metal Evangelist are bringing you guys some Danish metal. This, I will tell you, because we've been looking at metal from the Scandinavian countries. We hit Norway and Sweden and Finland, and now we're on to Denmark. And this is crazy because they have a fraction of the number of bands that the other three Scandinavian countries have. And I'm not sure anybody's going to recognize more than like one or two of them.
There's like negative 69 bands in this country. Not a lot.
Yeah. They're not on the like high per capita metal band list there. But I would say they are some of the most underrated bands. We are going to hear some absolute gems today. And everybody's homework is to listen to every single band we talk about today and find some new ones. It's so good. Danish metal is
if you
so
don't
good.
Listen to every single band will cut off your toes.
Yeah, totally.
That's the way it goes. So
and then
100%.
Then you'll have to sit down and listen to it because you won't
have a choice. You don't have a choice.
No running and getting a stitch. Now, in honor of Danish metal, I went and I got myself a nice Danish pastry with cheese. None of that jam
That's
shit.
A donut. Which, if Ingve's watching the stream, Ingve, you're gonna want to take off because this is.
I'll give him fair warning before I take a bite. And then also went and got some Carlsberg premium Danish. Let's see, I don't know how they'd pronounce it.
I hear that's probably the best,
but the R is cut off.
Yeah.
So check it out. Probably the best beer in the world. Holy crap. So we're going to listen to some of the best music in the world today. We're going to drink probably the best beer in the world. Oh, it's going to be a good day. Good day, guys. So, anyway, now like the obvious guy from Denmark that everybody's going to know is our old buddy Lars Ulrich from Metallica. Here we go.
Yes.
Now, I would like to say, I mean, I know some people are just joining us on audio. We do stream this on YouTube, and as you can see real quick, I know that was a nice pour you got going there, but I was going to say, I hope everyone appreciates the thumbnail I made because I put this Marshall, the head on top of Denmark. You can see it's powering Denmark.
Denmark some head. Denmark's getting head.
Yeah, and the metal is going to come blasting out. So we're very excited about that today.
That is a great
JCM 800s. They can crank the metal. That's for Denmark right there, baby.
Yeah, and of course, for people that can see the screen, that was the band Merciful Fate, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. Old King Diamond there.
I need to learn more about this band. I hear that band, Merciful Fate, quite a bit. I hear people talking about it. I've just never really dove in that deep. They have like this they're kind of like darker, heavier 80s metal, almost something like that, right?
Yeah. So along with like Venom and Bathory, Merciful Fate is largely credited with being a forerunner of like the black metal scene. Because they were extremely experimental, but they like, and as we're going to see with a lot of these Danish metal bands, they're not content with fitting neatly inside of one genre. So Merciful Fate, I mean, they were together for like 4 or 5 years in the early 80s. Then they broke up, and then King Diamond went solo. and then they reunited in like the mid 90s. But they have elements of progressive metal in there, symphonic metal. They're kind of all over the place. So very interesting band.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, this is good stuff.
Is that a 19-ounce can?
It's
it's
16.9.
It's
1
pint,
ounces.
1 pint, 0.9 ounces.
So 16.9 ounces.
So you got 169.
Oh,
there it is. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's actually a great point. I didn't realize that this is probably like a 12-ounce glass.
Yeah.
So anyway, gonna have to go there. So
chug.
I'm gonna say cheers. I'm gonna assume, I don't know, in a lot of Scandinavian countries, cheers is like Skål or something.
Yeah, I think in Denmark it'd probably be something similar.
Yeah. So okay, here we go. Let's hit this Pilsner.
Skål.
It's mild.
Should be like a lager.
It's flavorful. Like, if a lot of people think of Pilsners as like Budweiser, like American Budweiser, not Czech Budweiser. And it's way more flavor than that, but definitely a similar style. So
nice.
Anyway, okay. Well, so let's talk about a little Merciful Fate.
We'll have to ask Lars if he drinks that Carlsberg.
Yeah,
I'll get him on. I'll get him on the horn.
Yeah,
I'm quite certain he's had it before.
Is that you, Lars?
Oh. Okay. So Lars, he's actually a big proponent of a lot of these Danish metal bands. The two biggest by far, originally you had Merciful Fate, and then of course the big one today is Volbeat. Volbeat was like the #1 selling metal album on Amazon they just released an album in like December or something of 2021. And they were like the #1 selling metal band on Amazon for like almost a month. So they're a pretty big outfit these days. And Lars Lars recorded a track with Merciful Fate back in the early 90s, and maybe the late 80s, early 90s, because they were broken up. And then he also, I don't know if he recorded a track with Volbeat, but he went on tour with them and like filled in as their drummer, at least at one show. So he's a big proponent. He's pushing Danish metal, supporting the homies. Yeah. So anyway, let's check out a clip here of Merciful Fate, because these guys have some really interesting stuff going on. So this is a song called "The Uninvited Guest." Ooh.
They had a nice top hat, I might add.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Now, what in the world?
Yeah,
what genre would you classify that as, Shred?
Exactly. It has a lot of different elements in there. As with a lot of metal, it's kind of like this melting pot of influences. I see what you mean with like the black metal, but then to me, it sounds a bit like 80s metal. And then there's some thrash influence. It sounds like Kerry King guitar solos. I'm like, they're like atonal and pointless.
Atonal point.
It's like, where are you going with this solo, bro?
Yeah, it's a bizarre dynamic. Like listening to these guys, and that was right after they reunited in the 90s. So, you know, and their 80s stuff was a little darker, a little more focused on like Satan and the occult. But you know, they King Diamond there, the lead singer, I mean, he's one of the first ones to really use corpse paint. You know, Kiss really like did like the face paint stuff like in the 70s, but it wasn't really the same thing. It wasn't like that the corpse paint, you know, meaning
the visual aesthetic aspect of metal is really important. Like the way that you present yourself. And I think King Diamond really got that, you know. You've got to like come across a certain way. It's almost like a theatrical element to what he's doing. It's almost like he grew up on Broadway or something, you know?
Yeah.
But how you present yourself is a big part of the brand.
Yeah. Well, David pointed out that he first ran into the Merciful Fate on Guitar Hero Metallica edition, and the song was called Evil. So presenting yourself that way, I think we hit it on the head here with the look.
The first and last time.
Yeah.
First and last time. Yeah.
No,
it's last time too.
It is true. Like, I mean, these guys have had a weird history. Like King Diamond as a solo act is still going. I think he's actually releasing something here soon. But because they got back together in 93 with like the original lineup. And then they didn't break up again, but they took a hiatus again in 2009. And King Diamond is like, nah, we might get back together. We might do some more Merciful Fate stuff. But since 2009, they've kind of been dormant. So, but you don't ever see these guys around, but you hear about them all the time. They were incredibly influential.
They're like one of those bands that's influenced everybody, but didn't really get their own popularity or fame as much.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That's a good way to characterize it. So yeah, I mean, Danish metal, they just come out swinging. They're just putting all kinds of stuff together. Really, really cool. So, but that's really it. Like, you know, there were so many bands with the other Scandinavian countries that were like, okay, in the late 70s, early 80s, you know, all throughout the 80s, all these bands are doing all of this stuff. And then you go to like Denmark and it's like like Merciful Fate. That was the big one, but they were huge.
Denmark, we got to increase our metal output, guys.
Oh, well,
I want more metal. That is an unacceptable amount of metal.
Lack of metal is coming
out of that country.
Well, and like David and I were talking about in the comments before the show, like what Denmark lacks in quantity, they make up for in quality. I mean, let's get to some more metal because this stuff gets so good. It's just like bizarrely good. But let's take a look. So if that's really where like Danish metal kind of started, was like Merciful Fate was like the big one. Let's look at the big one from today. So like I said, Volbeat, they started, I think it was in like 2001, maybe. And they've just kind of organically grown bigger and bigger and bigger. I remember first hearing about these guys maybe about 10 years ago. And I just never dove deep into them. But they're pretty big now. They're by far the biggest Danish metal band by far in terms of like listeners on Spotify and Last FM. I think on Last FM, they're like 750,000 monthly listeners, and like Merciful Fate's like 200,000. So, I mean, they're and Merciful Fate's like by far the second biggest. So, anyway, let's check out Volbeat. This is a song called Shotgun Blues.
You're living a second life that don't belong to you. Step out my body, I believe you like it too. Stop wearing me out and pushing you to gate. I'm passing you over and leave you on the face. You're now leaving. I can't run with you.
That's kind of poppy. It's like poppy metal. It's Five Finger Death Punch ish, maybe. Somewhere
Five
in
flavored
that
fruit
genre.
punch, you mean?
Yes, that's the band. That's the
That's the
band.
one.
I just can't. I can't get it. It's so good. Yeah, this has like maybe Five Finger Death Punch or one of those like alt metal bands. That kind of a feel to it.
It's very polished. The production and sound quality is all there, but something seems like a little bit pussyfied about it. It doesn't quite have the
Did
metal
Shred
nuts.
just call Volbeat pussies?
Oh shit!
And that's what's getting all the listens, right? We got to get out there and spread the word about some of these other options.
Well, and let's be totally fair here. Like that's what Metallica did, right?
Yeah.
Metallica, they were thrash, which was much less poppy than what Metallica records today. And so they were like, let's go more mainstream and less metal, quote unquote. And they're the biggest metal band in the world. So maybe that's
kind of like slowed things down, though. I mean, they still had a lot of heaviness. And like Load and Reload was kind of like a significant departure. But the Black Album, which is Metallica's best-selling record, that one's still like really heavy, but it's just slow.
I mean, the other day, like Turn the Page came on the radio.
Well, that's not Metallica. That's Bob Seger.
Oh, is that a cover?
Yeah, it's a cover. So they did they did a bunch of those songs. They're just trying to break into a larger market. And now they're playing effing Lollapalooza. You guys see that?
No.
Crazy. They're playing Metallica's playing Lollapalooza.
That's a different market for sure.
They need to make up with Dave Mustaine and go back to Gigantour.
Yes, they
do Gigantour. Man,
why can we not get back together with Dave Mustaine, guys? Just have him. In fact, have Dave join the band again. That's what they really should do.
Yeah,
Dave's constantly kicking people out of his band. Maybe like he could keep it together if he was a part of someone else's band. I don't know.
Now, what would that be? Megatalica?
Yeah, exactly.
Megatalica? Metallica
Death. And then, oh man, that'd be such a fight over the set list. Dave would be like, "It's all gonna be Megadeth, Metallica. No, all Metallica."
Yeah,
fight just real hard. Get their chops out and start writing new stuff together.
Yeah. We'll write all new songs.
Yeah. Back to the drawing board, boys.
I don't know. There's like this feeling though. I think. Do we all feel that? Like when we're just listening to that track and you kind of feel like, wait a minute, is this really metal? It's like there's some aspect about it that just doesn't quite seem right. What is that? Can we like define what that is?
Well, I mean, but see, here's the thing. So this is actually really interesting because next week we have our 2022 GMP Metal Awards. It's basically what the Grammys should be, but aren't.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
It's going to be really good, and we'll plug it here at the end and tell you guys how, because it's all going to be like all the nominees are coming in as comments from listeners to the show, and then all of we're going to whittle it down to probably like 3 or 4 nominees per category, and then everybody's going to vote on who the winner is. So it's not just us picking our favorites.
I saw, some Instagram posts on that. You were like getting numbers on a bunch of different bands.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah. And one of the categories is the Poser Award, which is what is the metal band that isn't really metal, but everybody considers them metal. So if you guys have ideas or thoughts about that, vote on it, because that's a category on next week's award show.
Nice.
So I think I like listening to Volbeat. It's not where I go when I need some dark, heavy metal. But they definitely have some other stuff that's like less popish. But again, I think they're doing what works for them, and they're getting numbers. So, so that's the two ends of the spectrum, right? Like, Danish metal started with Merciful Fate. Danish metal today at least in terms of popularity, Volbeat's the pinnacle.
Volbeat.
But the shades of gray in between those two are so vibrant that we just gotta check some of this stuff out. So
let's talk about the secret.
I'm going to talk about for real quick. So my introduction to Danish metal, which I didn't think anything about, I was just like, European metal is where all the good stuff's being written back in the early 90s, mid 90s. So I discovered Dream Theater in Columbia House. And then after that, I just started like ordering everything I could find from Europe. And so I came across this band called Royal Hunt. Now, I didn't know at the time they were Danish, but they are. Yeah. So they are neoclassical. And this was, so DC Cooper, a lot of people don't know they're Danish because DC Cooper is actually American. But DC Cooper became the singer for Royal Hunt very early on. I think before they even released anything. And DC Cooper is a tremendous singer. So anyway, neoclassical Danish metal at its best. Let's check out some Royal Hunt. This is, I think, off Paradox back in like 96 or something like that, called The Silent Scream.
I do like that neoclassical sound.
Oh yeah, and almost every song has a harpsichord in it. Oh
yeah.
Oh
let's bring back the neoclassical sound. Where's Yngwie Malmsteen? Come on.
Yeah, he's still doing stuff. He's actually, Yngwie's getting real active on social media these days.
Dude, he's going so hard. Yngwie wants more. Like, he's releasing NFTs. He's releasing like 6 videos a day on his YouTube channel. Like, he's going so hard.
Well,
he's on tour right now as well.
David agreed that he got Yngwie vibes from that.
One, lower and less BPMs. Yeah.
Definitely slower than old Yngwie. Yeah. That is true. Yeah. No, Royal Hunt. I mean, I don't know if these guys are still together. I know DC Cooper left.
I highly doubt it.
But because they formed pretty early, it was like 89 or something like that.
Money off the band, so yeah.
Well, so the one stat I could find on, I think it was Wikipedia, said that Royal Hunt to date has sold over 1 million records, which I think is actually probably quite a few for a band that, you know, so few people have heard of. So I don't know. I don't know how well they do. But my gosh, Royal Hunt. So yeah, check out Royal Hunt. So good. So
check it out.
Now, in a similar vein, so when Shred and I went to college together for a little bit, a few years.
Hold on, there in 2021, the group announced Royal Hunt the completion of songwriting for their new album Dystopia Part 2.
Oh yes!
Apparently, they're still working on stuff.
We got some new Royal Hunt coming out. Now, is that with DC Cooper? Does it say if Cooper's back? Because I know he left and then he came back.
Yeah, no, he's back. Looks like he's back.
So, this is going to be good.
Luke, yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that.
Oh yeah. No, that's
Dystopia. That's the last Megadeth album was called Dystopia.
oh.
So
Well,
this
this will
is
probably
Dystopia
Dave
2.
Mustaine on it. Could have Dave. Yeah, right. This is like the sequel to Megadeth's album.
yeah.
Not really.
Yeah. So when Shred and I were in college, we were driving down the street one day and we saw
University
this
for Young Evil People was the name of this college that we went to.
right, and it was probably the highway to hell. And it actually probably was Route
Located
66
on the highway to hell. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
666.
Yeah,
66?
we were
They just
we were
did the
right
last
on
bit.
Route 66, but yeah, somebody erased the third six or
They
something.
erased the third six. Why would they do that?
Anyway, so we're driving down and we see this guy with long red hair walking down the sidewalk, and he's got a Stradivarius t-shirt on. And like nobody knows who Stradivarius is, but we did.
Shadow Gallery too. We saw him with Shadow Gallery shirt.
Oh, he had all of these band shirts of like bands that we listened to that nobody had ever heard of. Anyway, it turns out it was one of my like college professors. He was like a what do they call? He was like a lab guy.
Yeah, like
An adjunct or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, he came in one day when I was sitting there in class to teach the class, and I was like, "You are shitting me! It's the guy!" And he had like, I don't know, some band shirt on. Blind Guardian, I think, was the shirt he had on in class. Anyway, so we like hooked up and started like, even after I left, we were like sending mix CDs back and forth to each other. We were like metal. We had like a metal boner for each other or something. And so I was sending him all of these like metal mix CDs and he was sending me a ton. So two of the next two bands were actually bands introduced to me by Metal Professor Paul. And so the first one is this band called, it's either Pyramaze or Pyramaze. It's Pyramaze. And so these guys are like again, hard to put them into a genre, but there's elements of progressive metal, speed metal, power metal, death metal. Anyway, let's check out this clip from Pyramaze. I can't even remember what the name of the song is called. Some Disciples of the Sun, maybe. Let's check it out.
Something roars in the distance, unobvious sound of chaos and people crying their lungs out. Heard from all around, the truth is hard to take, too blind to discover. Disciples of the sun, set out to catch the fire. Our journey has begun. As flames break loose, they're forced to reacquire the rays of honor.
Okay.
All right. Does everybody have goosebumps?
Yeah, the vocals
Is it
very
just me?
big and powerful.
Everything about
Yeah.
that production values is pretty big, actually.
Yeah.
Really, really good textures in their music. Really good stuff. Like stuff where like, I don't know these technical terms, but like the guitar will be doing something and then like the keyboardist will like throw in these notes in between notes of the guitar. So you get these like really cool like textures. Oh man.
Yeah.
Pyramaze.
Yeah,
Definitely worth a
keyboards,
listen.
I think, add a lot to metal. Some people are purists and are like, no, keyboards are not allowed. You mustn't have keyboards in metal.
Oh, silly.
That's some silly shit right there. Because yeah, as we heard in that clip, they can add another dimension.
Yeah.
Really helps you
Oh!
fill out the orchestration.
They really can. And so Smitry, I can never remember if we ever learned how to pronounce his name. But he says, doesn't suck, just makes me want to listen to Dream Theater. So that is really true. I mean, they have a very Dream Theater-esque sound to them. Just like when we were listening to some of the other Norwegian metal bands, Pagan's Mind has a very Dream Theater. It's hard because Dream Theater is so iconic.
Yeah.
If they inspire you,
DT clones, yeah,
and it's not necessarily that it's a straight ripoff. Although Pagan's Mind did have that one song that literally was "Learning to Live" with different lyrics. It was crazy, and they said it was like paying homage to Dream Theater, but it was like you literally just took their song. Oh, he said it's pronounced Symmetry. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, sorry about butchering that for the last like several months, but
yeah,
So I totally agree. I mean, there is Dream Theater written all over Pyramaze. However, it's like if you like Dream Theater and then you want to like listen to something else that it's like Dream Theater. Like sometimes, you want something that you haven't heard before. Pyramaze.
Yeah, for sure. It's super hard, man, to make an original sound, isn't it? Like you rarely hear a band that's like, okay, that's their own sound. That's something really unique. But those are the only bands that really make it.
To me, a lot of it comes. Unique. A lot of times it comes from the vocalist because there can be such a range. There's a lot of vocalists that can sound similar, but then you'll get these vocalists that just sound like nobody else. And it's like, and that just like sets the tone.
That's the number one
band.
Signature of a band is the vocalist. That's what you hear out in front. It's the most identifiable thing. And I mean, think about like Axl Rose, who sounds like Axl Rose. Nobody. Or Geddy Lee from Rush. Bon Scott from AC/DC. So unique.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's go to the next one that Professor Paul, which I haven't talked to Paul in, I don't know, probably 2008 was maybe the last time we had a correspondence. So if you're out there,
special guest, he could be a special guest on the podcast.
I'm not even sure how to get a hold of him anymore, but
that'd be wild.
Yeah, because we were literally like mailing stuff back to each other. So
you never have like an email address?
I did. I'd have to go find it. I probably have emails from him, but like literally it was like, I don't know, 15 years ago. It's hard to keep track of that stuff. But anyway, so another one that he sent me was the band Wuthering Heights, which named after the Emily Bronte novel. And these guys, Professor Paul, like he was not into the heavy stuff like death metal. He loved power metal. Like Rhapsody was one of his favorite bands. Halloween, yeah. So he sends me this CD with a bunch of Wuthering Heights on it. So here's a song called Demon Desire. Let's check this out.
Double D.
Like a night without a dawn, I ride out to face the two-backed beast. Naked in the face of horror, against us at this undercover beast. Desire fills my heart with guilt and pain, as my burning blood from my mind is drained. Demon desire, you need a drag behind. Demon desire, leave my friend on mine. I cannot be at peace when my blood is on fire. Don't wanna be your slave. Demon desire.
That guy's got some pipes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That vocal immediately drew your attention and again set a tone for it.
He's got pipes. He reminds me a little bit of Russell Allen from Symphony X.
Yeah.
I like that's a high praise.
You could do opera or Broadway.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an operatic feel, and I like the dynamics because it would really pound, and then you get this stop, and then like pound in again. That's always interesting.
Yeah, his name is Nils Johansson, and he really sets Wuthering Heights apart from a lot of other neoclassical bands. Like, for instance, with Royal Hunt, you know, a lot of neoclassical is really like high, like 80s metal singers, right? Really like high pitched. You know, they can cover those octaves. Nils has that really like, aggressive. It's clean vocals. He's not like growling or grunting, but it's like aggressively raspy.
Yeah, it's not totally clean. There's some kind of extra going on in the tone there. There's more. It's just more balls, is what it is.
More balls,
reaching deep, deep.
Yeah.
Symmetry said this is his favorite so far, and I would agree. I think
Wuthering Heights
of today, that was a surprise. Where that when the
good find on that one,
Luke. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Paul, Professor Paul, showing up in your Blind Guardian T-shirt to teach my class. Appreciate you sending that one over.
David also said maybe the Denmark's trademark is theatrical and soaring vocals.
Oh,
it's good to find a theme here.
That's a good insight, and it's going to be very relevant in, you know, some of the bands we're about to look at.
Oh yeah.
Vocal wise, yeah, man. They it's like it's not just there to speak words. Like they see their voices as an instrument and they use it. It's so impressive. So so anyway, Pyramaze, Wuthering Heights. Thank you, Paul, for introducing me to these guys. Goodness gracious, so good.
Look, you had no idea the education you're going to get that one day. It had nothing to do with science.
Think about the education.
Metal education. You went to school for metal, bro.
Yeah, that's right. It's like I have no idea. It was some kind of like, I don't know, geographical something. Like, I don't know, something to do with like rocks. We did a lot of like testing of like minerals and stuff. Don't remember any of that, but I do remember having conversations with my professor about metal. Like
it's like hot for teacher, but hot for metal. Think of all the education that
I missed. Yeah, exactly. Now, okay, so now this next band, this one, this episode, this is the great, maybe one of the greatest stories of all time, and it's still in progress. It hasn't finished yet. About, I don't know, 20 years ago, I had all of these like sampler CD. I like signed up to every like metal fan club I could find and all this stuff.
This is before the internet, right? Like back in
this would have been like
1870.
This would have been like early 2000s. So I mean, there was internet, but it like Google, I think Google started in 2000. So it was like Google wasn't really a big thing and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it was hard. Like I was using like webcrawler.com and stuff. Anyway, Alta Vista. Anyway, so I was like a member of all these like fan clubs, and they'd send out these like sampler CDs, and there was this one sampler CD, and it had this song on it, and I burned the song from the sampler CD onto. It must have been an iPod or something. iPods wouldn't have been there. I don't know. I burned it onto something.
Onto a
but
CD.
I never. Maybe it was onto another CD.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Like a mix.
But I didn't write the name down of the band, just the name of the song. And I remember it was like, the name of the band was something like Dragon something or Tricornia. Or something. I could never remember it for years. Literally for like the last 2 decades. I've always been like, man, I sure wish I could remember what that band was because they were so good.
Such a good song.
I'm looking up Danish metal bands, and out of nowhere, one of the Danish metal bands I come across is this band called Manticora. And it hit me. It was like, that was it. That was the band, Manticora. So 20 years in the making, and we found them all due to us doing a series on Scandinavian metal.
Like a long
my gosh,
metal child.
They've been saved.
Back to you, Luke.
Yes. So anyway, let's check out Manticora. Now, I have not found the specific song I remember in my head yet. But so this is Manticora. This is called The Farmer's Tale Part 3, Eaten by Beasts. So let's check this out.
Delicious.
That's a good title.
I will make you suffer a painful death. I will defy your horrid fate. The pigs are fierce and hungry, eager to feast. No time to waste, open the gate. I long for you to die. It's time to say goodbye. While you're tired of blind and crawling, it's time for you to cry. Unleash the horrors. Witness the feast. Eaten by the beast. Know this. I don't judge you.
Oh man.
Oh,
Things got real evil there at the end of that dramatic
Yeah.
change in the music.
yeah.
Yeah. And that was newer. That wasn't like from the 90s or see, I can't hold on. I have it here. They formed in 97. Okay. So, but that was from an album from like, I want to say like 2015 or something. So I'm going back through their old catalog right now to try to find the songs that I'm thinking of. Cause that would have been, early 2000s when Paul sent it to me. Anyway, these guys have such a cool dynamic. There's like a lot of like, what are these erotic scales, Shred, that you always talk about?
Yes.
They get
Erotic.
into these, these erotic scales. Really, really cool dynamic to their music.
Yeah.
So
It's very
Manticora,
hard.
write it down. Don't forget this band name for 20 years.
Manticora.
I
Yeah.
do like David's comment here that if we can have Viking metal, we can have farmer metal part 3 as well. What
Yeah.
kind of concept album is this?
There's
It's
pigs,
funny.
tractors, farms. in that video.
Yeah.
But maybe
It's
they
a
were the
really-
beasts that eat the things, the people. You know, that girl was going to get eaten by pigs, maybe.
It made me
That
think
could be.
about Spirited Away, where her parents turn into pigs, and then
Oh,
you have,
yeah.
like one shot to turn them back, and it's like, well,
Yeah,
if you
the
don't turn them
popular
back, you might be eating
anime.
them as bacon, you know.
Yeah.
Bacon.
Tough
Bacon
deal.
is
Tough
good.
deal. But that there is that element, like that, almost that horror movie element
Mm.
to like their music. I mean, there are some dark, evil themes going on there.
Yeah.
Fantastic band.
Yeah.
So
Like the exotic / erotic elements there. Those are always hard to kind of control, the notes outside of the key. But if you can do it, then it creates a lot more sort of drama. You know, there's more like an emotional roller coaster. You can grip people more because there's more potential for resolution. Basically, you create the tension, and then the resolution comes.
And it grabs your attention, boy. When that changed, it was like, whoa,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like we're going for a
wait
ride.
going for a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's like mature songwriting. So many songs you hear just they're not able to wield dissonance properly. And if you can figure that out, you're a mature songwriter, and you write good songs. Good fucking songs is what comes from that.
Yeah, I've also heard a lot. Yeah, like you said, a lot of just dissonant. That's hard. to
Yeah,
listen
right.
to.
That's trash too. Just the consonants trash.
Yeah.
Just the dissonance trash. can you kind of figure out how to, get the two working for each other
we
properly?
get like I wonder if we could get any dark magic metal.
Well,
maybe that's a lead.
Are we at that point here, Luke?
I don't
Where
know.
Are we at?
Well, we're not quite there. But speaking of dissonance, so there is this band I want to check out. Get you guys' thoughts on. So this is a relatively large band in Denmark. I don't know how big they are worldwide, but they're called Nemec, and they describe themselves as future fusion metal. That's what they call their genre. Okay. Now, I had not heard these guys before, so I just started listening to them. But let's check them out and see if they live up to the rest of these Danish metal bands.
Interesting. That was like a complete Meshuggah ripoff.
Riff. Well, they're gent. They're in that.
Yeah. Very
definitely.
Found Symmetry's favorite.
Oh yes.
But it is nice. It's refreshing to get to heavy stuff. Remember back when we were talking about Volbeat? Hey, what was going on there?
This guy's scream at the very end. I don't know if that kept going on, but that was pretty heavy right there. I wanted to just keep holding that scream. I love that when you just hold that blood curdling scream. It just keeps going.
Yeah. See, the thing is, when you hold those, you can pull those off in short bursts real easily without it hitting your throat hard. Yeah. The longer you hold it, the more it's just starts tearing into your vocal cord there.
Oh yeah.
This is really interesting because primarily, most of what we've listened to so far has not been what would be considered extreme metal, right? Merciful Fate was back in the 80s for sure. But most of it's been power metal or progressive metal or whatever with some elements of darkness. But this goes into the extreme metal stuff. I don't really understand future fusion. When I heard future fusion metal, I was almost thinking Fear Factory type stuff, heavy to industrial. This was
Factory.
Oh, there you go. Repping it hard.
Yeah.
So, but no, this is good. This is good, aggressive metal. And there just has to be a place for that in your rotation.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to find bands that are really advanced songwriters. I find that's the hardest thing. When it comes to really any genre, but metal as well. It's that's the hardest thing to do. Is to write a good song. The production value is, something that's pretty common now. Everybody has these amazing sounding recordings. But just going back to basics, how do you put a song together? That's number one. And I think it always will be. Sometimes we get distracted by all these other elements, playing fast and whatnot. But just write a good song. That's number one.
Yeah. Well,
that's what pleases Satan the most.
speaking of Satan, we cannot get through a metal episode without talking about some black metal. So we got a Danish symphonic black metal band here called Ilnath. And this song is called Ravenous Crows. So let's check it out.
Channeling his inner crow.
Huh. That guy had a different sounding voice for sure.
Yeah. I will tell you, the first time I listened to that, I literally started laughing. I've never heard anything like it. And I had to go back and listen to it with headphones on like several times to like really get the nuance of what he was doing. Because I'm like, is he just like gurgling? Like, what the hell is going on? One of the most unique. Yeah. One of the most unique, that black metal screech I've ever heard. Yeah.
I like the originality of it, and I think for me that like it's something that would be a great technique. I don't know like if that was used heavily throughout all the songs. I don't know if I could listen to an album of it, but I like the uniqueness, and especially for a song about a crow. But overall, like it was kind of cool.
Effect.
Yeah.
Good effect.
Yeah, I think, and to me, like that was the primary driver of them being black metal to me was his voice. The music didn't really hit me as black metal at all.
No.
The music is more like power metal. But there's very clear harmonies there that are going on, which really helps because obviously there's no melody in the guy's voice. So we need that kind of clear musical structure in the background. That's what I didn't like as much about the band before this. Like there's no harmonic movement at all. It was just all, based on rhythmic figures.
Yes. As David so adequately put, would have thought future fusion metal would have more complex tabs than 001, 0001. And it's true. That was
binary music.
Yeah, I mean, it was gent, right? So it's just like you're just chugging right along on your open string.
That's a good criticism for gent in general is it's just that 001 kind of thing. And we're not really thinking about song structure or chord progressions, It's just beating the shit out of that low string, in drop.
The best song with 0 and 1s is that R and Anthony Lucason's album 001
but that's not 001. It's
no.
It's like 6, 7, 12.
Yeah. I know. That's the best use of zeros and ones, I guess is what I'm saying in metal.
Yeah. Okay, so we got one more here before we get to the highlight. But so this one's important.
We should have put Finn at the front or at least closer to the front.
I thought about it. I'm a save the best for last kind of guy. But it is true. Sometimes like you get, like if you're eating, you save the best bite for last, but then you're too full and you can't eat it. And you're like, oh shit. Yeah. That sucks. But we got time. So, but we got to get to this one because I believe it was David talking about Mercenary, which is a Danish band. And so we've got to check out some Mercenary. These guys have been around for a while. They were one of the earlier ones. I think 91 was when they formed. And they're like, they've got some really good stuff, like power progressive metal is maybe the closest you can classify them. So anyway, let's check out Mercenary.
Oh, right. Mercenary. Not bad.
Yeah. Maybe closer to Volbeat, only more on the progressive side.
Well, they had a lot more going on vocally. They had like several versions of the vocal, and they had layered vocals.
I think
I'm assuming
so, yeah.
there was a couple. I don't know. But yeah, the overall thing, the song didn't excite me as much, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
That was kind of
songwriting.
Yeah.
Man, it's so hard to find good songs. So hard.
It is hard. Well, if you want to find all the good songs,
take us to the good songs,
guy.
Luke.
There's one guy you can go to. Here we go.
I think you have to call up Satan and then do a collab to actually get a good song. And that's maybe what this guy did.
He probably did. This guy did some wild stuff. So, of course, we're going to go to the great Finn Zierler. Finn Zierler of Beyond Twilight, and then more recently of the, just Zierler.
He writes music of the future.
There are
in the future.
There are only two people in this genre, Finn Zierler and Shredmaster Scott. They're the only two people I've ever seen. Right. Shredmaster Scott put out a demo called Arideus many years ago, and he won't release it to the public, much to the public's disappointment. And it's in this same vein. It is like, I dubbed it dark magic metal. No way to describe it.
I still am heavily influenced by this guy. It's so weird. He's such an obscure thing, but just his ideas, and the way that he's taken 20th century music from classical composers like Stravinsky and Schoenberg, and he's done something really incredible.
When we talk about songwriting, right? That's
this
the last when the song was boring. Like what we're about to see is that the songwriting is revolutionary.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
Revolutionary, unfortunately, because no one. I don't know if he actually had good marketing. Maybe he would have.
I think a principle too, though, is like this type of stuff. If as we play this here, you guys might be like, "That's not that great." But the thing is, like, you have to listen to the complex stuff. Luke, you always talked about like. How many spins? Like you got to give it 3 spins, like the CD or whatever. It's like you got to listen to it multiple times.
Yeah,
that was from Paul because you're not.
That was from Paul. He said you always have to listen to a record 4 times.
If it's catchy, it's often limited. In scope.
Wears off
like
quick.
It doesn't go deep, right? But it catches you, and so something that's not catchy by default, you're not going to want to listen to again. But that might have a lot of good. You got to give it a couple shots.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. And now Finn is he's I guess what you would call something of a prodigy. He originally started playing music when he was like 5 or 6 on an accordion, And then
tough
It's
stuff.
actually a cool instrument. Accordion
cool.
sounds so cool.
Yeah, which it has like a keyboard because he's primarily a keyboardist now. But he he started on the accordion. He wrote his first symphony when he was 12, and then he went to some like music school when he was very young, graduated very early. So I mean, he's like like what would be like the equivalent of like Juilliard or something.
So,
in Europe,
something like that.
What'd you pick here? We got to give people something to listen to, and then we can talk about it more.
Okay, so so this is not like the song I would have necessarily chosen, even though it's amazing. But they released one video in the entire history of Beyond Twilight and Zierler. They released one video, and this is it to the song Shadow Self. So let's check it out.
Power of a legion of nameless lords, I command you. Lots of 1,000 nameless doors, I unlock you. Lots of the 6-soul taking strokes, I will feed you. Twisting in my mind, into the shadows waking
Oh man,
yeah,
there's such good vocalists. There's a couple vocalists, right, that he used.
That one was Kelly Sundown Carpenter, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. So Jorn Landa sang on his first album, and then this was Kelly Sundown Carpenter, and then he may have had one other guy in there.
Yeah,
I think he did.
Multiple other guys.
When you talk about theatrical, though, they bring in like how he said the line "shadow self." I mean, it's like there's like a texture and like almost like a character they're bringing into the music. It's unreal.
Yeah, the music is accenting the lyrics and vice versa. Like there's a connection there, right? Like he's telling a story.
That was so good. It's time to eat the Danish.
Shit.
Finn Zierler is going to get me to eat a Danish. I don't like this stuff, but I'm going to do it.
Just the way that song's put together and how the guitarists give the keyboard space and vice versa, and just the structural integrity of it. This guy knows how to write music. It's a big difference from so many other bands. And yeah, you got to listen to more of him to get a sense of, the scope of his compositional mastery. He does so many different kinds of things, but this guy really, like for me, I've studied composition. When I listen to him, I'm like, wow, what a master of the musical arts, the musical dark arts, where so many bands I listen to, and I'm like, the music is just amateur the way it's put together. I mean, you may have like really good technique and whatnot, but the actual composition is just weak.
So I think that's where you nail it all with Finn, because you get the composition tone, like we talked about, not just in the vocals, but across the board with the guitar tones and the keys and everything. You get diversification. It's
excellent on every level except his
production.
Marketing
Production levels high.
Balls.
Right. Yes. Marketing is the problem, but it's hard to market something complex. It
is. He could do better.
And Finn, I mean, he's an artist in like the literal sense. I mean, where he he does all these weird things to find inspiration to write. So he'll go to like, he'll go to like find a lake in the forest, and he'll go there in the middle of the night, and then he'll swim down to the bottom of the lake and just sit there until he feels inspired. Yeah. And so he did. He wrote a song called like
Mermaid.
Portrait in Dark Waters in D minor or something like that. And so he does all this stuff. But I mean, and like For Love of Art in the Making, he wrote this album and it's 42 tracks. Some of the tracks are as short as just like 9 or 10 seconds. And some of them, like the longest one's like 2 minutes. And it's meant to be listened to on shuffle. So like all the pieces, like every time you listen to it on shuffle. It's a different album because he wrote it to all like go together. Some tracks he wrote them as if they are meant to be played backwards. I mean, the guy is just incredible experimentally, but also like the quality of the sound, like it sounds good.
Yeah,
it's not just noise.
Well, and even past that, he gets you to feel something. Like Finn is primarily concerned with eliciting strong emotion. Like like that, his last solo album, right? Zealer. It's like him pressing the escape button, like he wants out. And that's something that's really raw and powerful. And we can all identify with that at some point, right? Sometimes you're just like escape. You just want to push that escape button.
Yes.
Our goal is to find this guy and get him to write more music, but we're failing at that right now.
So this is funny. We did about, I don't know, in like, because he disappeared off the map in 2006 or something, and then in like 2013 we're like, let's make a documentary and we're going to go over to Europe and try to track him down, find him, and it was going to be called Finding Finn. And then in 2013 he announced that he has this new project called Zealer, and then the album didn't come out till I think 2015. But then he's disappeared again. He hasn't done anything. Like his last update on social media was like 2016 or 17.
That's the other problem with writing this kind of stuff, and I've realized this myself by trying to write something like that. Is it takes a lot of isolation and time off the grid. Like I'm posting, whatever, 10 videos a day on social media. You can't do that if you want to write a magnum opus. You have to go away for a while, and just really focus.
So
that's a good point.
This is great. I just looked up Zealer on Facebook, or I Googled it, and you're right. He last posted in 2017. But the about is brutal, nightmarishly technical, crushingly dark progressive metal.
Okay. That's a lot of adjectives there.
Well, and it
dark
does like
smells probably better.
Yeah.
He
you
uses,
talk about marketing, right? Like that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
A dark magic metal is a better.
Yeah, for sure. What do you do with this guy? I mean, he's absolutely brilliant. No one will ever, hear his music for the most part, because he just sucks so bad at visibility and marketing stuff.
Well, maybe we need to resurrect the idea of doing a documentary and finding him, and then we can hit him with that hard truth.
Why? Nobody would watch the documentary. He's got no brand.
I would watch it. But I would watch it, Shred. I'd watch it over and over and over again.
I'm really interested, though, in how you take something as sophisticated as like what Finn writes and making it more marketable. I think it's possible to an extent. I mean, I'm not saying he's ever going to be, Cardi B, but I think he could have a lot more recognition than he does.
Yeah. I think that's true. I mean, his music's unbelievable. It's the pinnacle. If this is a Desert Island CD. All of his CDs are like Desert Island CDs for me. And that's tough. But so okay,
it's really special stuff. Like when I listen to that Zealer, I'm just like, this is as a composer. Rarely do I like listen to bands. I'm like, okay, I got to learn from them and like really incorporate these elements, because most people are just copying everybody else. But this guy's actually like doing something different and innovative. And it's really special.
I like David's comment. Ask for that genre of music in a music store, or even better, try finding a music store.
That's something you got to Google. And even then it's going to be hard to find. All right. Well, we're out of time. So anyway, Danish metal guys, there's some really, really cool stuff going on in Denmark. What's the line from Hamlet? Things are there's something afoul in the halls of Denmark. Something. It's not in the music scene. The music scene is doing great in Denmark. It's just very small. So I'd recommend everybody check it out. Just Google it, Danish metal. Now, in the meantime, next week we have our annual Metal Awards show. So check out our YouTube. You're going to see, and our Instagram. You're going to see a bunch more stuff going up. All the nominations are pretty much done now. So they're going to go up, and everybody needs to vote on who the winner is. So check our YouTube community page, Instagram, Great Metal Podcast. You'll see a bunch of stuff on there, and you can always email us with your votes, greatmetalpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. We'll probably have the nominations up tomorrow or Tuesday at the latest. And next week is going to be a freaking cool show. So you guys know the score. This has been a ton of fun. Thanks, David, Symmetry, everybody for joining. Great conversation. And remember that the world ends with you. So make it metal.